welcome to this edition of Tuesday Talks with Twyla. We are outside on my back deck. It is gorgeous this morning, but we have some heat coming in this afternoon, so it's going to be a nice summer day. So today I want to talk about energy, how we spend our energy, what we give our energy to, what maybe sucks our energy, and what gives us energy, right? Because there are things that we do that actually fuel our energy and make us feel like energized to go do more things. And there's things that just kind of suck the energy right out of us and we feel more exhausted. And sometimes what we think is giving and what we think is taking can be opposite of what it actually is. So, one of the things that is very confusing is that we can be spending time like resting or relaxing or on this little device, right? And we feel like that is downtime, right? Because we're not physically doing, we're not up cleaning the house or we're not at work and maybe we are, but we're not physically moving our body. So we feel like it's downtime. But this time can be where we lose so much energy because our minds are going in lots of different directions, right? There's a ton of distractions on our phone. So a lot of times when you feel like maybe you're just spending some downtime, your thoughts and your attention is actually very scattered. And that takes a lot of energy. And so we don't relate that downtime of just looking at our phone or, not moving our body and consider it downtime. We don't consider that to be taking a lot of energy. But what happens when you put your phone down or, you do get up and start moving around? A lot of times, all of that thought chaos, all of the thinking, all of the worry or stress or anxiety, those types of thoughts stay with us and they're very draining. They're like, I just always relate it to like the hamster wheel. The hamster is still running and it's not efficient, right? It's not effective thinking. It's not like productive thought or critical thinking or planning, things like that, that actually lead to more efficient time spent, more productive time spent, and more things produced or results achieved. And so this time can be very confusing in that we associate the downtime with like rest or energizing or recharging. Actually, it's just draining our battery. So I encourage you to do an energy audit and take a look at the things that you do during the day and how you feel doing them and after you do them. And find the things that do give you energy. And I'll give you a hint. The kinds of things that you'll find actually give you energy are going to be things like planning your day, planning ahead, and this one and I fall into this trap myself, I often associate the time I spend planning as kind of a waste of time. I just don't feel like it's super productive time. And that's just not true. It really is productive because in those moments, you're planning for a time in the future that you're going to do a certain thing. So let's say you are going to have lunch with a friend on Friday and you need to make lunch reservations at the restaurant. So if you spend that time on Monday making the reservations, making the plans, and having that on your calendar and dedicated time, that day at lunch, you're going to know exactly where you're going and what you're doing. Reservations are set up. All you have to do is show up and have lunch and then go about your day. But if you show up in the moment at lunch and you and your friend are trying to figure out where are we going to go, what time should we meet, like you imagine all of that time that's wasted in the moment. And that's a very simplistic example, but you understand that the time that we spend planning ahead of time is really productive, constructive time. And when you're done, you actually do have some results, something that you've produced, right? You have your calendar or your schedule created. So you actually have a result. It is actually productive time. So if you're like me and your brain wants to tell you that's a waste of time, then you can just redirect your thoughts to what you're going to have at the end of that time. You're going to have this result, you're going to have this product at the end of that planning time. And then when you look at your calendar and on Wednesday at 3 o'clock, you have this meeting set, or it's just like power hour time and you're going to create this result in that time. When you get to that time that day, you're not going to know exactly what you're going to do. You don't have to try to sit and think, what should I be doing now? What do I need to get done today? You have already decided. And in the moment, you can just be efficient and go right into what you're going to do. So there's times that we spend thinking or we spend what we would maybe consider as downtime that actually produces energy and some that actually takes our energy. So we want to be very curious about that. What types of things are giving you energy and taking your energy? And one of the times for you to look at specifically, so if you do an energy audit, you for sure want to do all of your time in the day, right? From the time you wake up until the time that you go to bed, you want to look at all of the time and find the time that you maybe just kind of think anecdotally is your recharging time, or you think it might be an energy suck time, or you kind of have already like categorized it as a give or a take of energy. And when you actually look through it and you do an audit of what you were doing and how you felt, you might be very surprised. And then we want to take it a step further, right? We want to take it 2 steps further. So once we do the energy audit and we reveal all of the things and I would do it for a week or a few days, whatever you're comfortable dedicating to this. And once you have the information, we want to look at how we want to, right? Decide ahead of time how much time do we want to spend on the giving and the taking of the time, right? So that we're very consciously and intentionally making those decisions. Because once you have the information, now you know these things actually give me energy. I want to do more of those, right? And the things that take our energy, we want to do less of. And when you actually associate the amount of energy it gives you with the task, I mean, it's going to be mind opening, mind blowing for sure. It was for me. And it's, it's energizing, right? Because you've just identified the things that can give you more energy. And they're things that usually we want to be doing. So that's, a bonus. And then the next thing, the third step, and this is like the bonus step, is once you get through all of the first and second step, now you can take the things that you plan that you want to do and that produce energy, and you want to say, how can I do that more efficient? How can I do that in less time, right? So maybe there's something that gives you energy, something that produces a result that actually creates something, right? It's very productive. It gives you energy, and it took you, let's say, 2 hours to do that thing. I want you to challenge yourself to say, could I get that done in 1 hour? Could I get that done in an hour and a half instead of 2 hours? Right? Now you're maximizing that time. You know it's going to give you energy, but what if you could give yourself that energy in just an hour and a half or an hour instead of 2 hours? Now imagine the time that opens up in your day when you can maximize the time you spend. And now you've maximized the things that give you energy, and you've maximized the time that it takes you to do that. Imagine what you could accomplish and how you're going to feel accomplishing it, right? Because you're going to have more energy. So when you just look at your day and you think, boy, most of my day is spent feeling like I just don't have energy for anything. Like everything feels like an energy suck. Everything feels like it just drains my energy to do this. Take a look at how much like thought clutter, thought noise, time you spend with distracted thinking. Because distractions in our world today are everywhere, right? I mean, they're absolutely everywhere. If you have an office job and you have a computer, you have an email inbox, and that might be your distraction, right? And there's, you know, maybe issues or just communications, but there's distractions coming from lots of different directions, from your boss, from coworkers, from HR, from the different communications that you subscribe to that are good information about your work, but maybe also like personal communications. So you just imagine all of that kind of influx, right, of distraction. When you start looking at those things as distractions, now you can start really intentionally deciding, how do I want to handle this distraction? And maybe putting time limits on it, maybe setting like actual time chunks and then setting an alarm on your phone so that you only spend this much time on this distraction, right? Because those are the types of things that can be very energy draining, right? And part of it is you get in there and an inbox or, social media or anything that has an influx of communications, and there's just lots of information there. It's just a great, I mean, you can use this example for anything, but you just imagine that you have this large volume, right? You have all these new emails in your inbox, you have all these new communications, or you have all these new things in your social media feeds. And our brains love like that just zap of dopamine, right? When we just get that dopamine hit. And so it kind of like excites our brain. And so we grab like a tidbit of this, right? Because you don't read the whole entire email, right? And you might even just read the subject line and decide if you're even going to open it. But even if you don't open it, how many subject lines have you read? And your mind is reading it and it starts kind of thinking, and then you jump to something else. And then you start reading it, and your mind starts thinking, and you jump to something else. But keep in mind that the thinking that started isn't just like completely shut down. So, in the back of your mind, it's like all this clutter, right? It's all this noise, all of these thoughts kind of like, we don't get through the thought or process it completely. And then boom, we have another one. And so it really is this bombarding amount of information. And we can just get like sucked into that rabbit hole, right? We just jump from one thing to the next and one thing to the next. And then what happens is our mind and our body is now like almost put into this like, high gear of doing this. And then if you have like a task that you have to go accomplish and you need to narrow your focus, right? That is difficult. You could be having all of the thoughts from your email, and maybe a couple of them are still like, still actually floating, and you're still kind of considering them, and you're trying to redirect your focus. Okay, I'm done with my email hour, let's say, and now I'm going to go to this task. And we bring all that with us. Even if, like, you have someone walk into your office and it interrupts you, right? And you have this conversation. Now you have all of this other, email information in your mind. Now you have this conversation, and maybe that conversation brought in some things that you needed to do or another conversation you needed to have. And now you have that in there too. And then you had this task that you were just about to go do, or you had just started, or, whatever level that you had gotten involved in it. And now you've got that. And so, it used to be that like, having the skill of multitasking was considered like an advantage, right? Like I can multitask. And really what that means is I pick up a lot of balls and I have a lot of things going on, but we're usually not good at doing all of the things. And something sacrifices. And I think the biggest sacrifice is just like our like our energy level, our calm, our internal turmoil, like all of that stuff impacts us. And we get used to being in that multitasking mode, in that distracted mode, right? Like it used to be just called multitasking. Now, I mean, it is multitasking, but it's also a lot of distraction, right? Because it's, at our computer email inbox and it's at home email inbox and it's our social media and it's, our kids and it's like it's all these things in all these places, right? And so we get kind of stuck in this mode, in this constant level of distraction, in this constant level of multitasking. We're just used to having a lot of noise, thought clutter, thought chatter. There's just like all this stuff going on. We just get used to that. And what I found after I left a very chaotic environment was, because my new environment was not like that, I created it for myself. I created the chaos. I found different things. Like I found different balls I could pick up all at the same time. And I had to be really conscious about that because I was just used to that level of function. And that was the norm. That was comfortable for me. And so I really had to pay attention to that. And it's so difficult because we have this little device, we have this smartphone that has so much distraction right here in the palm of our hands, and we all have it on us. We all have it within arm's reach. We all have, some level of notifications on, whether it's just vibrate or only our kids can ping in or whatever it is. There's just a constant influx, right, of communication, of notification, of distraction. And whether we realize it or not, those things take our attention and take our energy. And so it is no wonder that we feel exhausted, that we feel tired, that we feel drained, right? It's what we're used to. But if we're feeling that way, we likely have no idea where to start to figure out what's causing it. And the reality might be that it's just about everything in our environment that's causing it. And there might be just some low-hanging fruit like this guy that we can change the way we manage the communication so that we reduce the distractions, so we reduce the interruptions, we reduce that influx, we reduce the energy required, right? So I created in my summer program an energy audit, and it's just a quick checklist that you can do every day. And it just helps you take a look at your days, and you want to do the whole day, right? Because you don't want to miss anything. You might have something that you only spend a small amount of time doing, but it really kind of sucks your entire day's energy. So you really want it to be comprehensive from the time you wake up till the time you go to sleep, and you don't have to do it for a month. You can do it for a few days and probably get a really good handle on what's going on and then make some changes. I would recommend, if you could for sure commit to a few days, few to several, I mean, a week at the very most, but if you could capture an entire week, that would be super amount of information for you. So you do the checklist daily, and then there's some questions to kind of reveal what you're finding. And, we're asking, like, what are the things that take your energy, that your energy leaks or drains your energy? And then what things give you energy, right? Let's find those, because we probably don't even realize the things that give us energy. And like I said in the beginning, like the secret to this is the things that actually give you energy are the things that produce results or create a product at the end. Like you actually create something. The feeling of that is energizing, right? To say that that you accomplished this, like even if it's personal, right? I want to walk every day. Once you can check that off, like you just feel energized. Or, I plan to do this and I do it and I accomplish this. Those things give us energy. And so, especially when it's something physical like exercise, and we think that we're going to be more tired if we do this, the reality is when you actually look at the energy audit, it's not those things that take your energy. Those things actually give you energy. And then what do you do with the extra energy, right? Do you just go sit down with your phone, right? Like, and you might come back from your walk and be just a little bit tired, right? But then do you grab your phone and then just spend all of that energy and just let it like suck away into the abyss of scrolling? Um, or overeating, or, eating because you just worked out, not because you're necessarily hungry. And so this is what will be revealed as you go through and do the daily audit and you do the checklist and you answer the questions and you create this picture for yourself so that you know exactly what's giving you energy and what's taking your energy. So if you want the energy audit, just reach out to me so that you can grab that. And it's just a short couple of pages and it gives you the checklist, it gives you the questions, and then it helps you identify the things that give you energy and the things that take your energy. And then you'll have the information in front of you. And really, the next step is going to be to implement more planning, right? To be more intentional about the time that you spend doing certain things. And that only comes from planning our day, from planning and creating a schedule, deciding ahead of time what we're going to do and when. And then in the moment, I always say this, in the moment when you have something planned, be prepared to not want to do that, right? It's all of us. We plan ahead, and that usually is the resistance to the planning, is I know I'm not going to want to do that, so why do I even bother putting it on my calendar? The secret to that is in the moment, you're prepared to not want to do it, but you do it anyways. You honor your schedule, you honor your commitment to yourself, because when you're planning ahead for your future self to do this thing. And the reason you're doing that is for whatever desired outcome you want to create, right? So that's going to be like, accomplishing whatever by the end of the week, whether it's, something at work or it's having the house clean, but you want this thing. In the moment when you decide and set your schedule, you're deciding and you're intentional and you have a desire to have that outcome. So in the moment, you're not going to feel like it, right? You're just not going to want to. And that's okay. But you've already decided. So keep that commitment to yourself. Do the thing anyway. And don't entertain any drama. Don't entertain any mind drama when your brain's just like, yeah, we don't feel like doing that. Nope, you're right. We don't feel like doing that, but we're going to do it anyways. Like, we're still going to do the thing because we decided, we committed, we are going to keep that commitment to ourselves. We are going to keep our word to ourselves. And we're going to go do the thing. We're not going to give it any more thought. We're not going to just sit there and think, well, should I do it or shouldn't I do it? There's no decision or discussion in the moment. If it's on the calendar, it's the thing we do. We already decided that's what we're going to do, and just go do it. And then notice how you feel afterwards, because that is where the energy is going to come from. When you complete the thing and you keep the commitment to yourself, you are going to start building this confidence in yourself that you believe what you say, that you keep your word, that, all of these things that are the things that make us feel good about ourselves. That's what's created in those moments when we keep the commitment and we do the thing on our calendar and we accomplish the thing and we get that burst of energy because we're so proud of ourselves for doing the thing, for accomplishing the thing. It gives us energy. So I highly encourage you to take the time to figure out, where does your energy go? And be prepared to be surprised, because there's probably a lot of time that you just innately consider downtime that is actually sucking or draining tons of energy from you, your day, your life, right? And we get stuck in these patterns and then every day is like that. And so I encourage you to take the time to do the daily energy audit and take a look at it, and then make some intentional decisions on what you want to be doing and how you want to handle the results that you find in your energy audit. So if you want the energy audit worksheets, just let me know. I will shoot them over to you. And if you have any questions, if you get them and you're doing the work, or you just decided to create your own checklist and kind of do the work on your own, or just pay more attention, and you have questions or you want some support as you kind of like start navigating this, as always, please just reach out to me, send me a message. I would be happy to visit with you on how it's going. So here is to finding the things that give you energy and enjoying the rest of your summer with all of this energy and all the things that you get to complete and get to do and get to enjoy when you have the energy to do it and you cut out the things that are draining your energy. All right, with that, I hope you have an amazing week, and I will see you next week for Tuesday Talks with Twyla. Have a great week.